Hi Virgo, this is Tisch Aitken, and this is your monthly report for the month of December, the final month of the year, and we are in eclipse season, and there's so much happening. So let's see, let me break this down. So we had a very powerful lunar eclipse that took place on November 19th at 27 degrees and 14 minutes of the fixed earth sign of Taurus. And for you, this lunar eclipse occurred in your house of teaching and promotion and travel and learning, and hopefully brought some tools to manifest. It was a very powerful eclipse, the biggest of a century, and the longest since February 18th of 1440. It lasted for 3 hours and 28 minutes. You probably got some big news. I noticed there was a lot of loss that occurred right around that eclipse. It was during Scorpio season, which is the sign of death and regeneration, and there was a lot of loss and a lot of endings with that eclipse. And for you, it's in the house of manifesting and hope. You got to keep working with that. So as we begin the month, the Sun and Mercury are both transiting in the mutable fire sign of Sagittarius in your house of home and family and emotional foundation. A lot of focus on family and home at the end of this year. Mars is still transiting in the fixed water sign of Scorpio in your house of communication and writing and networking and marketing, and it's been there since the end of October. So a lot of focus on communication of all forms, and you are the sign of communication, so that's fitting. And the eclipses make things very harried and hectic. They happen once every 6 months, and they always come in pairs. So we had the lunar eclipse on November 19th, and we're building up to a total solar eclipse on December 3rd or December 4th, depending on where you live. And let's see, also that Neptune stations direct at the beginning of the month. But more importantly to me is the Venus story, because Venus will retrograde on December 19th at 26 degrees of Capricorn, triggering where Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, retrograded in April of this year in your house of romance, love affairs, creativity, and children. Venus entered the cardinal earth sign of Capricorn on November 5th, and it will be there until March 6th of 2022. Likely a lot of old lovers or romances will resurface in your life. There could be karmic love affairs with this energy. You could be returning to creative projects that you've put on hold. It's hopefully a time that you can tap into joy and hope again, because this sector of the chart rules the heart chakra and really what makes you happy, and that's a big deal too. But Venus in Capricorn, it's a cardinal sign, very goal-oriented. It requires work, doing the work to get what you want accomplished, but also about setting boundaries. So whether it's setting boundaries with yourself around time management, because when you're creative, it's hard to be rigid and enforce things like that sometimes, or with your romantic relationships, setting boundaries on your behavior and with others. So let's dive into the month. On December 1st, Neptune stations direct at 8:22 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 20 degrees and 24 minutes of the mutable water sign of Pisces in your house of relationships. And whenever an outer planet stations, you feel the buildup 5 days before and 5 days after. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. It's a planet of dreams and imagination on the higher level. On the more challenging level, it can represent delusion, deception, and directionlessness. So we begin December with a very hazy energy. There could be heavy emotions, certainly during eclipse season. There often is. It's been a very difficult time for all of us, and we're getting to the end of the year. But perhaps information gets uncovered regarding relationships for you, because Neptune can represent hidden information, and it is transiting in your house of partnerships. On December 3rd at 11:43 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and on December 4th at 2:43 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there is a total solar eclipse at 12 degrees and 22 minutes of the mutable fire sign of Sagittarius. And this total solar eclipse occurs in your house of family, home, and your own foundation, your inner foundation. This eclipse is a really significant eclipse for getting your needs met. Write down your intentions, do the law of abundance, do whatever manifesting ritual it is for you, whatever it is, something to manifest joy within and with your family and with your loved ones, and certainly loving yourself, and do some kind of ritual to honor that. That is the final eclipse in Sagittarius, and the eclipses in Sagittarius Gemini axis began on June 5th of 2020, and they occurred every 6 months in your house of home and family and your house of career. So you've been experiencing big movement and change in those areas. And so with that said, we've got that eclipse energy, and a lot happening, a lot more revelations. Eclipses are very revelatory, and they make us see things in a way we never have before. And perhaps you did get big news around the partial lunar eclipse on November 19th, but we're still in eclipse season and we're not done yet. So it's a very wild time. And on November 6th, Mars, which is the planet of action, has been transiting in your house of communication and learning, forms a helpful sextile to Pluto, the planet of transformation and empowerment. This is good for doing research, good for creative projects, because Pluto is transiting in your house of creativity, good for getting things done. On December 7th, Mercury, which is the ruler of your sign, squares Neptune at 10:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That could bring deception or confusion in communication. It's good for doing manifesting work. Later that day, Mars, which is the planet of action, squares Jupiter at 10:21 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and on December 8th at 1:21 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that could be just being very busy and having a lot to do, I think. And on December 11th, there's more of a heavy emotional tone, because Venus is going to retrograde 8 days later on December 19th. Venus is going to meet up with Pluto 3 times, twice in December and once on March 2nd. And that can bring breakups, that can bring endings and loss, and very heavy emotional energy around relationships and possessions and finances. The two meet up in the sky, Venus and Pluto, at 11:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good for getting to the bottom of things that need to be healed, but definitely could bring power struggles in relationships and can be very dramatic. And then the Sun squares Neptune at 10:21 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and on December 12th at 1:21 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That could conceivably dissolve relationships or bring more hidden information to light. And we are, again, still in eclipse season, so that already happens a lot, during this time. And then on December 13th, there's more positive energy. Mars enters the mutable fire sign of Sagittarius at 4:53 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where it will be until January 25th in your house of home, family, and emotional foundation. If you have your own business, this is excellent for getting things done, great for doing renovation at your home or fixing things up, and a lot of focus on family and on getting your own needs met. And then let's see, on that same date, Mercury, which is the planet of communication, enters the cardinal earth sign of Capricorn at 12:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in your house of romance and creativity. It will be there until January 2nd. It's going to then enter the sign of Aquarius, but it will retrograde in the middle of January and re-enter the late degrees of Capricorn at the end of January, re-entering your house of creativity and love affairs and romance. So a lot of focus in the first couple of months of the year around your love affairs and romance. Maybe you're returning to that. Maybe you've been really putting that on hold. Venus is there for several months, as you know, but Mercury will be going back and forth, and also focus on your work and habits, because when Mercury is in Aquarius, it's transiting in that sector of your chart where Saturn and Jupiter currently are, in your house of work, routine, and daily habits. So that's a big focus in the beginning of 22. On December 18th, there is a full moon that takes place at 11:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at 27 degrees and 29 minutes of the mutable air sign of Gemini in your house of career. Hopefully that brings culmination and fruition to things you've been working on professionally. It's going to be an emotional full moon because Mercury squares Chiron, the wounded healer, on that date, so that is intense. But it definitely could bring completion to projects you've been working on. It officially ends eclipse season because it's the first lunation after the eclipses, but realistically we're all adjusting to all of the change and revelations of these eclipses, so I don't know if we're totally done yet. And it is the day before Venus retrogrades, which it will do on December 19th at 5:36 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 26 degrees and 29 minutes of the cardinal earth sign of Capricorn. And this is intense because it's going to be meeting up with Pluto again and setting off where Pluto was earlier in the year. What do we need to eliminate in order to have happiness again? How do we honor all that we've lost in so many ways, all the people, all the love, all the ways of life, and how do we transform and heal ourselves again? And that's a question and a journey that we're all going to be on for quite a while. And Chiron, the wounded healer, stations direct at 11:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 8 degrees and 26 minutes of the cardinal fire sign of Aries in your house of healing and transformation and debt and joint resources. And Chiron is going to emphasize the wounds, but also emphasize the need to be courageous, to empower yourself to heal. And that is critical. The Sun sextiles Jupiter at 7:32 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that does give optimism, but it's an intense day, no matter what. On December 20th, Mercury forms a very magical and inventive trine to Uranus at 3:18 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's really good for working with others and good for creativity, and I think that's a really nice energy. And then on December 21st, the Sun enters the cardinal earth sign of Capricorn at 10:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where it will be until January 19th in your house of romance and love affairs and creativity. If you're single, there's a lot of emphasis on romance and revisiting that area of your life and on revisiting your creativity. So that's happening too. And then on December 24th, Saturn squares Uranus in the sky. And this is the third and final square, and they are both are the rulers of the sign of Aquarius. Saturn rules Aquarius in ancient astrology, and Uranus is the modern ruler. Saturn represents restrictions and is very rigid. Uranus represents chaos and brilliance and ingenuity. They're very different energy, and there's chaotic stressors while we build new structures in our lives, and that's just realistic. But that's going on the day of the 24th. And if you have any planets or angles between 9 and 13 degrees of the fixed signs, you'll feel that the most. And the fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And it's just a heavy energy. So, chaotic, and by the end of the month, kind of definitely recognizing that will be true for all of us. Could be some unexpected twists and turns with that. And then on December 25th, Mars forms a helpful trine to Chiron, the wounded healer, and that helps. But Venus and Pluto meet up a second time at 7:02 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that could bring breakups and heavy issues around relationships. For some, they'll be celebrating holidays at that time. Know that the energy is emotionally very intense. Try to tap into the healing energy of Mars and Chiron in harmony. On December 26th, Mercury forms a helpful sextile to Neptune at, when is that? At 4:29 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's good for positive, healing, and loving communication. On December 28th, this is another big day and a big deal. Jupiter, which is the grand benefic, changes signs and re-enters the mutable water sign of Pisces at 11:09 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in your house of relationships and partnerships. It was there from May 13th through July 29th of this year, and now it's going to be there from December 28th until May 10th of next year, and then it'll re-enter from October 28th until December 20th of next year. So it's going back and forth. It's going to be in Pisces, which it rules in ancient astrology, in your house of relationships and partnerships. If you're single, this is an awesome time for you for meeting new people and maybe getting into a relationship. If you're trying to build your business contacts or clientele or working with others, it opens so many doors with relationships. And then when Jupiter enters Aries, it's going to enter your house of healing and loss and debt and joint resources, but bringing light as you expand your options to heal that area. So that's also actually good for you. And on December 29th, Mercury and Venus meet up at 5:27 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's kind of heavy because, Venus is retrograde, and it's having some challenges in the process of finding its value. And on the following day, on December 30th, Mercury and Pluto meet up at 4:54 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That can be very combative and can induce power struggles, but it's excellent for doing research and getting to the bottom of things. And on the 30th of December, the moon enters the mutable fire sign of Sagittarius at 6:08 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a very lighthearted moon, and it will be there while it goes void on January 1st at 3:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with a square to Neptune. And I think that is significant because it shows how directionless and hopeless that many of us feel right now as we're trying to rebuild. It's very frightening, and yet Neptune is the dream and imagination and magic, and Jupiter will newly be back in the sign of Pisces, enabling us all to expand through the imagination and through our dreams. Do not give up on your dreams. And on January 1st, the sun forms an inventive and magical trine to Uranus, the planet of ingenuity, showing the power of invention within. I wish you a lot of luck, Virgo, and Happy New Year. Thank you.